We are launching rovers to Mars because the equations of Newton and Einstein truly work. Our solar system is a well-tuned mechanism, like a clockwork. Until recently, we believed we understood its fundamental structure. But then, in July of 2025, a glitch appeared in this code. Or perhaps a new feature that we had no idea about. An object entered our system, which we named Triathlos, an interstellar visitor, and it fundamentally changes everything we knew. Here is the thing. Come closer and take a look at it. This object is not just flying, it is ejecting mass at a rate of 10 pounds per second. That is an impressive flow rate of matter. But that is not the main point. What it is ejecting is superheated nickel. For those unfamiliar with the topic, this may seem strange. Cool, nickel. But for anyone with even a slight understanding of physics or materials science, this sounds like a warning signal. This is impossible. Let us return to the basics. Where do heavy elements like nickel come from? From stars? From supernovae? The physics of this process is beyond doubt. Nickel and iron form simultaneously. They appear together, exist together, and travel through space together. Like Siamese twins, every meteorite we have ever found on Earth is made of an alloy of iron and nickel. Always. This is the fundamental limitation of the system. But in Triathlos, there is no iron. Zero. Only pure nickel. At SpaceX and Tesla, we work with metals every day. To separate nickel from iron on Earth requires colossal energy. It needs factories the size of cities. This is an incredibly complex manufacturing process that we have developed ourselves. Nature does not do this. It is inefficient in terms of energy expenditure. The universe generally chooses the path of least resistance. So we have two options. The first, our understanding of stellar nucleosynthesis and all of our astrophysics is fundamentally incorrect. That is possible, but the likelihood is extremely low. The signal-to-noise ratio here is too obvious. The second option, this is an unnatural object. This is an artifact, a fragment of alien technology. Perhaps it is the remains of an engine that we cannot even dream of. Maybe it is industrial waste. This changes everything. We are used to thinking that only we create complex things. We look at the stars and search for radio signals. This is foolish. It is like the natives on an island waiting for a signal from an aircraft carrier. We were looking for messages in our language, but received a message in the language of fundamental physics. You see, pure nickel in space is a technological signature. It is a beacon. It is made specifically to be noticed by any civilization that has reached at least the level of the industrial age. This is not just a rock. This is a meaningful statement. The question is not whether we are alone in the universe. That question has already been answered. The answer is no. The new question is, what is this? Is it an umbrella, a weapon, or simply space debris from a civilization so advanced that it discards clean elements like we discard plastic bottles? Every time we thought we had reached the ultimate truth, reality put us back in our place. We believed that Earth was the center of everything. But it turned out that was not the case. We thought that physics explained all phenomena to us. And then Albert Einstein appeared, followed by quantum mechanics. The object known as 3 Atlas became the next landmark event. This is an update to our operating system that we did not even ask for. And you know what concerns me the most? It is not its existence. We could handle that. We would send a research expedition to it. The Senior P station could carry out such a mission with refueling in orbit. It would be a complex but entirely feasible engineering task. But that is not what worries me. What troubles me is its trajectory. Where is it headed? If material is a message, then the trajectory is the address. And that is what truly keeps me awake at night. This turns a scientific mystery into an existential threat. We must approach this with the utmost seriousness right now. An unusual trajectory. The universe has always taught us to think within familiar patterns. Asteroids move along understandable, albeit complex, orbits. Comets trace elegant arcs around the sun, leaving trails of gas and dust, cycles of which we can predict with an accuracy of thousands of years. All of this adheres to the laws of celestial mechanics. But when we began tracking the path of the object, 3 Atlas, astonishment turned into cold sweat. This object did not merely traverse our solar system. Its trajectory seemed to be drawn by an invisible, intelligent hand. First, the calculations revealed something statistically improbable, bordering on absurdity. During its flyby, 3 Atlas performed almost a theatrical, perfectly choreographed approach to Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. 3 consecutive approaches at distances perfectly suited for observing these planets. Scientists calculated the probability of such an event occurring naturally. It was only 0.5%. In simpler terms, the chances of being struck by lightning 3 times in 1 week are higher than the likelihood that a random interstellar body would perform such choreography. This detail shocked not only astronomical observatories, but also our understanding of intentions. If an object from beyond our solar system is making such incredible maneuvers, we are forced to consider 2 possibilities. Either we are witnessing an unprecedented statistical miracle, or there is a cold calculation behind its movement. And this is where the most alarming moment arrives. 3 Atlas is not just moving along the orbits of the planets. It has entered the plane of the ecliptic, the main cosmic highway along which all planets travel, but it has done so in the opposite direction. Its orbit is retrograde. Imagine a high-speed highway with one-way traffic, where all vehicles are racing in the same direction, and suddenly, a car traveling against the flow crashes into this stream at full speed. This is 3 Atlas, a reckless risk, but also a unique opportunity. The one moving in the opposite lane has the best view of the faces of the drivers in the approaching cars. Such behavior has sparked a genuine storm in scientific circles. At closed conferences, away from the eyes of the press, a question was raised that sends chills down the spine. Are we dealing with a natural object or a research mission? Although the term mission is rarely used in scientific discourse, with each new set of data, this hypothesis became increasingly justified and alarming. After all, if you needed to conduct a quick reconnaissance of a planetary system, such a route would be ideal, without spending an entire century on it. The scientific community usually avoids sensationalism, but the pressure on it reached a critical point when the James Webb Space Telescope confirmed a new troubling detail. The perihelion of the object, the moment of its closest approach to the Sun, will occur on the side opposite to Earth. This means that at the moment when the object will be most active and shining brightly, when we could extract the maximum amount of information, it will be hidden from our view. It is like an informational eclipse on a cosmic scale. Such synchronicity leaves no room for doubt. It screams of intentionality. How can one reconcile the fact that out of trillions of possible trajectories, the object chose the one that complicates our analysis? The materials did not go unnoticed, and the world media quickly turned the mystery into eye-catching headlines. For some, it became a harbinger of contact. For others, an inflated sensation, but the psychological effect was irreversible. Remember how the world trembled in 1997 when NASA reported strange signals from a neighboring star. Even after it was confirmed that these were merely interference, the idea of a planetary signal stirred minds for several weeks. Now we are not talking about vague radio waves, but about a physical object observable through telescopes, possessing characteristics that challenge the very nature of things. In schools, this case has become an example in lessons. While shows fervently discuss the possibility of intelligence beyond our planet, the online community split into factions: skeptics, dreamers, and conspiracy theorists. The topic transcended astronomy and penetrated the collective unconscious. This is not just about a strange rock in space, but about our understanding of our own place in the universe. To grasp the full depth of what is happening, recall how we react to ambiguous signals here on Earth. Imagine you are driving down a deserted road and see a sign written not in one of the known languages, but consisting of clearly organized, repeating symbols. Would you consider it a coincidence? It is unlikely that your natural desire will be to try to decipher it, as the very order of the symbols clearly indicates intent. 3 atlases are the same sign, only on a cosmic scale. Another example. When archaeologists find a stone with perfectly symmetrical faces, they do not need to prove who created it. The mere existence of these faces is already irrefutable evidence of intelligent intervention. The trajectory of the 3 atlases represents the same invisible faces carved into the statistical fabric of the universe. For many, the term coincidence has become a kind of saving spell, yet science cannot rely on an endless accumulation of random events. One single interstellar object made of seemingly impossible materials could cause shock. But when this object follows a statistically incredible path and chooses a hidden helium for its appearance, the word coincidence loses all meaning. It turns into a synonym for deception. At this moment, the discussion shifts from the question, "What is it?" to the question, "How will we respond to it?" If it is a natural phenomenon, we will have to reconsider all our theories about the formation of the cosmos. If it is artificial intervention, we must acknowledge that we are not the only creators in the universe. While science tries to unravel the truth, society is already beginning to feel the consequences. The mere thought of foreign intent undermines our sense of control. We have grown accustomed to believing that we are the ones exploring the cosmos. We have launched probes, studied stars, and planned missions. But with the emergence of the 3 atlases, this confidence has collapsed. It is like a child playing in a sandbox, suddenly realizing that adults have been watching his game for a long time, and the rules are not set by him. The emotional impact of this thought extends far beyond laboratories. It affects state leaders, military strategists, and ordinary citizens. What does planetary security mean now if we are already being observed? What does our technological progress mean if we are merely children wandering in the darkness of a far more advanced universe? This case is not limited to space. It concerns our civilizational identity, our ability to confront questions that have no simple answers. When such a thing occurs, it is impossible to simply turn off the television and return to everyday life. It compels us to think. And it is here that you, the viewer, must step out of the role of a passive observer. The future of our society depends on open discussions and the courage to face the unknown head-on. If you have made it this far, you are already part of that group ready to ask questions. That is why it is so important to share this knowledge. At this stage, we have seen that the 3 atlases represent a chemical and dynamic anomaly, a phenomenon that challenges statistics, conceals its true face at critical moments, and moves as if it is on some kind of mission. But this is just the tip of the iceberg, because the question that is already being whispered behind the scenes of science is even more uncomfortable. This is not the first time the universe has presented us with mysterious visitors. Several years ago, another interstellar object left scientists completely baffled. Comparing these 2 cases, we see that history takes on a weight that is hard to bear. To understand the full depth of the mystery of the 3 atlases, we must return to the year 2017, when another interstellar wanderer silently pierced our solar system. Its name will forever remain in collective memory. Oumuamua, a Hawaiian term meaning a messenger from afar who appeared first. For the first time in our history, we were able to confirm the passage of objects from another star system. Discoveries made using a telescope in Hawaii opened the door to a world that no one had suspected. Oumuamua turned out to be not just unusual, but seemingly violated the fundamental rules of cosmic science. Its shape, calculated from brightness fluctuations, resembled an elongated cigar or a flat disk, and nothing like it was found in the catalogs of asteroids or comets. The absence of a visible gas tail already raised questions, but the real shock came when instruments recorded an unexplained acceleration as it left the sun. Comets can gain speed thanks to gas emissions, which act like a natural rocket engine. However, no emissions were recorded from Oumuamua, neither gas nor signs of activity. How can an object accelerate without a visible engine? This question shook the scientific community. Several bold hypotheses emerged. Some suggested that it was made of solid material that evaporates unnoticed. Others proposed that it was a fragment of a frozen body that broke off from a distant planet, similar to Pluto. A third group believed it to be an extremely porous cosmic object moving under the influence of solar radiation. But none of these explanations fit all the collected observational data. What happens when science exhausts all known hypotheses and the phenomenon remains unexplained? What is it like for the entire scientific world to live with a question that does not fit into existing models? It is in this vacuum of answers that an astrophysicist from Harvard proposed an idea that sparked both admiration and fierce resistance. Oumuamua could be an artificial artifact. The scientist claimed that the characteristics of the object could correspond to a solar sail, a technology that we ourselves are already developing. This delicate structure uses the pressure of light from stars for movement, which was not just a bold speculation about contact, but an attempt to explain the data from a technological logic perspective. The reaction to this hypothesis was predictable. Some considered it too audacious, violating unspoken scientific norms. Others viewed it as a reminder that science must explore all possibilities, even the most uncomfortable ones. What was it? Is it the legitimate defense of the scientific method, or an instinctive fear of accepting a scenario that does not elevate us beyond the level of ants? Soon, Oumuamua disappeared from the view of our telescopes, taking its secrets with it. All that remained were fragments of data and numerous unconvincing hypotheses. It seemed that the story would end there. But less than 10 years later, a new object appeared. 2 interstellar visitors in such a short time are already enough to reconsider all our statistics. But what is truly troubling in this situation? It is the series of similarities and differences between them. Both objects defy traditional explanations and exhibit suspicious trajectories. If the first appearance of Oumuamua left us perplexed by its complete silence and lack of any signals, then Triatlas, on the contrary, overwhelms us with a flood of impossible data. We observe an outburst of pure nickel and an anomalous chemical composition that statistically contradicts all known pathways. It is as if some force decided to test us with 2 contrasting paths, first with silence and then with a loud signal. The first phenomenon lacks familiar characteristics, while the second is overflowing with those that cannot be ignored. We are faced with 2 independent yet connected phenomena. Either a sinister pattern lurks behind the scenes of the cosmos. Some astrophysicists hypothesize that we are dealing with a new, previously unknown class of interstellar objects. But if that is the case, then why were the first 2 objects we identified so unusual? Where are the ordinary typical representatives that should be the most numerous? Other researchers suggest that these could be fragments of extreme events, such as star explosions. However, this version requires consideration of extremely rare and poorly understood mechanisms. And here lies the main dilemma. What is more improbable? A chain of statistically impossible coincidences, or the existence of extraterrestrial cosmic engineering? We know only one thing. Both of these cases are already changing the face of science. Space agencies are now developing plans for the rapid interception of such objects, which seemed unthinkable back in the year 2017, but has now become a strategic priority. Even private companies are showing interest. Collecting data on interstellar bodies could turn into not only a scientific, but also an economic race. Science is directly intervening in our everyday lives. Remember how the space race during the Cold War, which began as an ideological confrontation, led to the emergence of satellite communication, global positioning systems, and accurate weather forecasts. What will happen if the next technological race is initiated not by states, but by mysterious objects from the depths of the universe? Could discoveries available only through telescopes today change methods of energy production, travel, and even our understanding of life tomorrow? These questions are not mere speculations. They are actively discussed at closed conferences and within government circles. The influence of triatlas extends far beyond astronomy, touching upon economics, philosophy, and world politics. If Moamo was a riddle without an answer, then triatlas represents a puzzle that provides too many clues. Comparing these two phenomena brings no comfort. It leads us to suspect that we are only beginning to decipher some cosmic code. After all, both the silence of Moamu and the cries of triatlas pose the same question. Who truly governs the history of the cosmos that we naively believed was ours? This question cannot be left unanswered, as the next level of this mystery is hidden not only in the collected data, but also in what these objects may be about to do. A message, debris, or a weapon? When reports of triatlas first emerged, the scientific community found itself divided. On one side were those desperately seeking natural explanations, even the most strained ones. On the other were those daring to suggest that we are dealing with something more significant than a random object. Between these two groups emerged a gray area, an area of preliminary reports, secret discussions, and technical summaries pointing to systematic unexplained anomalies, which, however, due to scientific caution, were quickly downplayed or hidden in footnotes. Such behavior was inappropriate. In 1977, the famous WOW signal, recorded by a radio telescope, was deemed an anomalous radio pulse. It has never repeated. Despite decades of debate, the scientific literature preferred to classify it as an unconfirmed curiosity, while the media turned it into a symbol of possible contact, thus devaluing it. Ultimately, a rare and worthy of deep study event was reduced to the level of an anecdote from an almanac. The situation with triatlas is similar. The headline is obvious. An interstellar object is emitting nickel. But how many people are aware of the most alarming data obtained from the James Webb Telescope? The ratio of carbon dioxide to water in its coma is not just astonishing, it is unprecedented. For comets in our system, this ratio averages 4%, while for triatlas, it is 8-1. This figure did not make the headlines and got lost in technical articles. Why is this so important? The chemical composition is a kind of fingerprint indicating the environment in which the object formed. The combination of such a composition with pure nickel creates a double paradox. The object not only originates from an extremely unusual place, but also bears traces indicating deliberate manipulation. Throughout history, mysterious phenomena have often been reinterpreted to fit convenient frameworks. In the 19th century, scientists claimed that stones could not fall from the sky. Meteorites were considered an absurd phenomenon. Only after numerous testimonies did science have to acknowledge their existence. It seems history is repeating itself. Preliminary reports from the International Astronomical Union already exist, describing triatlas as an object whose chemical and dynamic behavior has no known analogues. This phrase, which should resonate as a loud call to action, has been softened in press releases that downplay its significance. At what point does scientific caution turn into the concealment of truth? While scientists weigh their words, popular culture fills the resulting vacuum with simplifications. A mysterious comet, a puzzling alien stone. Complexity is reduced to slogans. This process not only distorts reality, but also creates a psychological barrier. making a mundane phenomenon seem less significant, leading people to lose the desire to understand it. This is a major issue. When an article about anomalies in the Kuiper Belt was published in 1919, the media seized upon the idea of a hidden ninth planet. Yet the main fact, the statistically incredible concentration of aligned orbits, was overlooked. The public remembers the hypothesis related to the mysterious planet, but few consider its true sources. The same is happening with the object known as STRI. Most articles focus on its speed while overlooking the incredibility of its trajectory and the absence of iron. Public discussions are mired in secondary details, while the most important questions remain unaddressed. Let us summarize 3 main points. First, impossible chemistry. The emission of pure nickel without iron and the anomalous ratio of carbon dioxide to water. Second, an unlikely trajectory. The consistent avoidance of nearby planets and a retrograde orbit, a scenario with a probability approaching 0. Third, convenient concealment. The object becomes most invisible precisely at the moment when its observation is hindered. Together, these 3 factors create a picture that demands an explanation beyond mere coincidence. Behind the scenes, hypotheses already exist that rarely reach a broad audience. One of them is the concept of a von Neumann probe. These self-replicating machines could travel from star to star, using local resources to create their copies. Interestingly, this nickel-rich object could serve as raw material for their construction, while carbon dioxide could be a potential component for biological or chemical processes. Although there is no confirmation, the similarity is significant enough to be discussed in internal NASA reports. Another hypothesis suggests that this is a fragment of a destroyed megastructure, similar to a Dyson sphere. But why do such ideas remain within a narrow circle? One reason is the memory of past mistakes. In 2015, observations of the flickering of Tabby's star were linked to a planetary megastructure. This hypothesis made headlines, but later a more down-to-earth explanation was found. The media labeled it yet another failure and another mistake. This experience left a scar in the scientific community, and many are now afraid to risk their reputation. However, the problem is that during the process, truly important data can be distorted beyond recognition. Is it not ironic that in trying to avoid mistakes, we ultimately reinforce the illusion that nothing extraordinary is happening? 3 atlases do not require loud explanations to evoke concern. The data collected speaks for itself. Chemistry that contradicts nature, a trajectory that challenges statistics, and scientific communication that weakens the truth out of fear. Every time we silence important facts, we miss the opportunity to learn something fundamentally new. If we accumulate decades of such omissions, a realization begins to form. Perhaps the pattern lies in what we do not take seriously. If what we have already observed raises concern, then what if these objects are not just random passers-by, but are observing our reaction? We have reached a moment when facts no longer allow us to remain in our cozy comfort zone. 3 atlases are not just another interstellar object. They carry a signal capable of shaking the foundations of our understanding of the world. Pure nickel, free of iron impurities, unique chemical proportions, a trajectory reminiscent of a carefully planned mission, statistical coincidences that challenge randomness. We are faced not with just one small detail, but with a combination of elements forming a troubling puzzle. To ignore this is to hide shards of glass under the carpet after an explosion. At first glance, the room may seem clean, but the shards will not go away and are ready to injure anyone who steps carelessly. Humanity has made this mistake more than once. Signals have often been ignored because they cause discomfort. Discoveries were postponed because they required change, and everyone wanted to remain in the saving silence of the unknown. However, reality always demands a price for denial. If we brush aside obvious signals as insignificant curiosities, the consequences will be scientific. We will stop investing in rapid detection systems. The chance to intercept the next object, send probes to it, and collect samples will be lost. We will remain mere passive spectators of phenomena capable of rewriting our textbooks. But there is an even more frightening cost, psychological and cultural. When society downplays the significance of signs of cosmic complexity, it reinforces the illusion that the world is predictable. This is a collective anesthesia that kills curiosity, the very quality that brought us from caves to the stars. By ignoring obvious signals, we invite conformity, which in turn becomes an enemy of survival. Ask yourself, how often do you accept simple explanations to avoid confronting complex problems? The phenomenon of three atlases is a cosmic reflection of this trend. By ignoring it, we risk reproducing on a global scale the same blindness that destroys us on an individual level. On the other hand, it is necessary to confront the peculiarities. Acknowledging the three challenges face to face requires courage. Accepting that this is not just a stone means letting go of the illusion of control. It implies recognizing that the universe is more complex than we would like it to be, and that our civilization is merely a small speck in its palm. This can be uncomfortable, but at the same time, it is liberating. Scientific acknowledgement of the seriousness of anomalies opens new horizons. Investments in interception missions and the creation of global networks of telescopes are not whims, but a survival strategy. On a technological level, the desire to understand this chemistry and trajectory can lead to breakthroughs in energy, materials, science, and biotechnology. History shows that every time we boldly faced the impossible, we returned with tools capable of changing the world. But the most profound consequence is civilizational. If we allow for the possibility of intentionality behind these objects, we will have to rethink ourselves as a species and as stewards of an isolated planet, not just as potential participants in a cosmic drama. This does not mean an immediate answer to the question of the existence of intelligent life. It requires something more serious, a commitment to grow up, to think as a civilization that can be observed, evaluated, and possibly tested. How many civilizations in the universe could receive such signals? How many of them would be able to understand them, and how many would simply ignore them? If the anomaly is a test, what criteria assess our curiosity, our technologies, and our ability to cooperate? The very fact of posing this question should awaken us from our slumber. What if the purpose of this object is not to teach us anything, but to confront us with ourselves and make us ask questions? How will we respond when the inexplicable knocks on our door? Will we pretend not to hear? Or will we lift our heads and respond with the only weapon we have, intellect? The essence is this: ignoring means defeat, while understanding means risk. But only risk leads to growth. Humanity is faced not only with the anomaly itself, but also with what we are willing to do about what it symbolizes. The anomaly is not just a guest. It is a mirror hung in the void that reflects our anxiety, our resistance, and our thirst for answers. It needs to say nothing. Its existence alone compels us to gaze into the abyss and see our reflection, and this reflection is far from ideal. It shows that we still arrogantly believe we understand the cosmos, while in reality, we are merely scratching its surface. It demonstrates that we prefer small certainties over grand doubts. It emphasizes that in the face of the unknown, our choice is not between belief and disbelief, but between evolution and degradation. You have reached this point because you did not retreat. You chose to confront the questions rather than hide from them. This already places you in a small group of people who understand that knowledge is not just information, but transformation. That is why your participation is important to me. Express your thoughts, not like robots, but as participants in a movement of people who refuse to accept reality halfway. Every response you give is a signal that we are not alone in this desire to think more broadly. It is a confirmation of the existence of a community ready to look at the sky and see more than just points of light. The treatise will fade away, just as Oumuamua did, just as other signs have disappeared that we ignored. The object will continue on its path, indifferent to our doubts. Only the trace it left in our consciousness will remain, along with the final question that no equation will solve. When the universe throws us puzzles, are we truly ready to face them head-on? Or will we simply pretend that nothing has happened until one day the door is kicked off its hinges